everybody. Thank you for tuning into the GSMC Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. My name is Samantha Genzer. I'm going to be your show host for you guys today. We have a very exciting show for you guys. I'm so sorry, I'm just adjusting my frame here. So we're going to be covering the CrossFit Semifinals in the South American Africa regions, the results from the Oslo Diamond League Meet on May 30th, last night's game and predictions for the final game for the Women's Softball World Series, the Xfinity U.S. Gymnastics Championships, and make sure you guys stay till the end to hear about a 13-year-old soccer prodigy who is making her way to becoming pro. Before we begin, I want to ask you guys to like and subscribe, and to become a part of our show to tip and donate using the link gsmcpodcast.net. Sorry, it is loading right now, the graphic right here. This also puts your questions at the top of the list because we do get a lot of questions and comments that come in from viewers during the show. So to ensure that your comments and comments and questions get read on the air and such, I ask that you use the link gsmcpodcast.net. And it also really helps the show. We really do appreciate the support. The support does make a difference. It does mean a lot to us. So without further ado, let's get started. I hope you guys enjoy today's content. Okay, so we're going to be starting the show off today by talking about the CrossFit Semifinals. In yesterday's episode, we talked about the results from the North America East region in the CrossFit Semifinals, and in this segment today, we're going to be talking about the South America and Africa regions. I also talked about my predictions for the semis in Friday's show, so make sure you check that out if you are interested in seeing how wrong I was or right. We'll see. So let's just get started. There's a lot to cover on this. In the South America, wrong one, there we go. Can't spoil the other segment for you guys. So in the South America region, the top 3 athletes qualify for the games. So one first was Victoria Campos. So she is just so far ahead of everyone at the quarterfinals, so this is really not a shocker. She was the favorite going into the semis. She is the only woman who in the field to have made multiple CrossFit game appearances, so this was her chance to look at a third time qualifying this summer, and she succeeded in that. Campos has been dominant at past South American semifinals, taking the title in both 2023 and 2022. She also had a podium finish in 2021 when she finished third. Campos entered the semifinals in top form after finishing first in the quarterfinals for the second consecutive year. So I left the workout description at the corner of the screen here so it is less confusing when I talk about times. So anyway, in the first workout, it was 5 rounds, an 800-meter run, and 10 clean and jerks. Campos finished in 8th with a time of 23 minutes and 42 seconds. And then in the second event, the workout consists of 5 rounds of 100 double unders, 20 toes to bars, and 10 front squats. And Campos finished in second with a time of 13 minutes and 42 seconds. In event 3, Campos finished in first with a time of 12 minutes and 27 seconds, and that workout was 7 rounds of 10-calorie echo bike, a legless rope climb, 10 box jump overs, and then another legless rope climb. And the fourth event, the workout is a 400-meter row to a 96-foot handstand walk, to a 600-meter row, to a 120-foot handstand walk, to a 800-meter row, and finally to a 72-foot handstand walk. Campos finished in second, clocking a time of 9 minutes and 25 seconds. In the fifth event, Campos finished in sixth with a time of 7 minutes and 3 seconds. And this workout was 10 squat snatches. This is a tongue twister, so bear with me. 10 squat snatches to 8 squat snatches to 6 squat snatches to 4 squat snatches and then to 2 squat snatches. And the weight increases by 10 pounds in each set. Lastly, in the sixth workout, it was the 30-calorie echo bike and then 15 muscle-ups and then a 72-foot dumbbell walking lunges. Campos finished in second with a time of 3 minutes and 41 seconds. So yesterday, when I went over the places of the top 11 athletes in the North America East region, it was very clear how Tia Claire Toomey placed in the first place. She finished in first in all but one event, and the event that she didn't place first in, she placed third. In this region, the first place finisher, Campos, did not seem that much ahead of everyone else, considering that she only placed first in one event. But still, despite not having a bunch of first place finishes, her second place finishes in 3 events really showed that she still is very much ahead of the other athletes, because the other athletes did not have that many top 3 finishes, if that makes sense. Sometimes the way the scores can get added up can be very confusing, to be honest, so I sometimes like to break it down so I'm not too lost when looking at where everyone finished exactly, because it does get very confusing at times. Now, moving on to second place. Julia Cato placed second. I did not have Cato in my top 3 at all when making my predictions. I thought she was going to be a fierce competitor, but not place in the top 3. So she really impressed me this weekend. This was her second time making an appearance at the games, and actually last year she had a disappointing semifinals where she finished in 8th, which is why I didn't expect her to finish in 2nd. In the off-season, though, she bounced right back to form with an 18th place finish at the Dubai Fitness Championship, and she just kept improving and working, and clearly that hard work had paid off. In the first event, Cato finished in 4th with a time of 23 minutes and 26 seconds, 9th in the second event at 15 minutes and 52 seconds, 3rd in the third event at 12 minutes and 56 seconds, 6th in the fourth event at time 9 minutes and 50 seconds, 1st in the fifth event at 6 minutes and 3 seconds, and 1st in the sixth event at 3 minutes and 33 seconds. She didn't have particularly a rough day the first day of the semis, but she was not looking like she was going to place in the top 3. And then on the second day, something clicked, and she got 2 first place finishes, which helped her secure that second place spot. So on the second day, she really just impressed a lot of people, especially myself. I saw her as a fierce competitor the first day, but I did not see her coming into first place finishes on the second day. It was very impressive. Third place was an interesting one. I predicted that Amanda Fusima was going to finish in 3rd, but also I was going to be a bit shocked to not see Emily Andrade in the top 3. I also thought that Luisa Marquez would finish a bit higher. So we're going to talk about all of them, but first let's actually talk about who finished 3rd. Andrea Pinheiro. This is shocking to me because we haven't heard much about her. She just popped out of the blue and impressed everyone pretty much. She finished in 6th in event 1 at 23 minutes and 28 seconds, 11th in event 2 at 60 minutes and 10 seconds, 2nd in event 3 at 12 minutes and 35 seconds, 9th in event 4 at 10 minutes and 20 seconds, 5th in event 5 at 6 minutes and 59 seconds, and 3rd in event 6 at 3 minutes and 55 seconds. She was absolutely outstanding both days, and I think that's what helped her the most. Typically, athletes will have one day that is particularly stronger than the other, and it seems Pinheiro had 2 strong days that just kept her steady in 3rd place. It's going to be interesting how she does in the games, and I have a couple of predictions about her that I'm excited to make in another video. Before I move on to the Africa semifinals, I want to talk about the 3 people that I mentioned. Emily Andrade, or Andrade, however people pronounce it. I've heard people pronounce it both ways, so now I'm just confused. I typically say Andrade, and then I hear some people say Andrade, and I'm like, what? Or Drade? And I'm like, okay. Anyway, Emily Andrade. She entered the semis on a high note after a career best second place in the quarterfinals. She finished in 6th in last year's semis, and she had a strong offseason. She earned her spot at the TYR Wodapalooza Latin American Cup with a 2nd place finish at TCB, and then she finished 3rd at the TYR Wodapalooza LATAM, or LATAM Cup, which is the highest finish by a South American athlete. Now at this year's semis, she finished in 4th, so she was literally right there to qualify for the games. I am so upset for her. To be one spot away from qualifying is so upsetting, and I really thought she was going to be at the games this year. And then we have to talk about Amanda Fusima. I had so much confidence that she would be in the top 3. In the quarterfinals, she finished in 41st, but that was because of a penalty or some sort of issue in one of her events. I talked more about it in my Friday show. I think she would have had a chance of being in the top 5 if there wasn't an issue in one of her events in the quarterfinals. So I had a lot of confidence that she would be in the top 3 of the semis. She ended up placing in 6th, which is still super close. And then lastly, I wanted to mention Luisa Marquez. She is entering her 4th year as an individual semifinals athlete and has a top 10 finish in all 3 prior semifinal appearances. She finished in 4th at the quarterfinals, which was her 3rd consecutive top 5 finish at that stage. With her experience, I had high hopes that she would be in the top 3. She ended up in 7th place, so not too far away, but not very close like Andrade. I just felt like this would be her year to get that spot at the games, just because she's been competing for so long, and because this was her chance again to maybe get a top 3 place instead of a top 10 finish in the semis. I don't know. I'm definitely thinking that maybe next year will be her year. Now let's move on to the Africa semifinals. Only the number 1 top athlete can qualify for the games in Africa. There really isn't anyone in this region who is particularly just above everyone else, so it's pretty tight competition. Obviously in the North America East region, you have Tia Claire Toomey, who is just above everyone else. But you don't really have that in the Africa region. You don't really have that in the South American region either, but it's the African region that you really don't have that. There's so many great athletes and contenders that I would expect at the games. But anyway, I predicted that Gilmari Reineke would take home the victory due to her experienced performance at the quarterfinals and past performances at the semis. She came in third last year in the semis, so I had high hopes for her to come out stronger this year. Well, actually, in first place was Gemma Rader. Now, because it was so close, I was not surprised that Rader came in first. There were like 5 athletes that I wouldn't have been shocked if they came in first, and Rader was one of them. But for the past 2 years, the competition was pretty much hyped around the Mitchells, or Michelle's. Michelle, I always say Mitchell. Michelle Moran and Michelle Latrande. However, this time around, both of them weren't competing at the semis, so this was really a chance for newcomers and people who haven't gotten much attention to make a name for themselves. So I particularly really enjoyed watching this region for that aspect. This was super close. Rader finished in second, literally 6 points. Sorry, I just stuttered my words. Rader finished literally 6 points ahead of the second place, Christina Lavitakis. I'm so sorry. I'm so bad at pronouncing names. So it was very, very fierce competition in this region. In event 1, Rader finished in second with a time of 24 minutes and 27 seconds. First in event 2 at 15 minutes and 53 seconds. 10th in event 3 at 15 minutes and 33 seconds. Third in event 4 at 9 minutes and 47 seconds. Second in event 5 at 7 minutes and 40 seconds. And first in event 6 at 3 minutes and 17 seconds. She really impressed me at event 6 because she had one of the best times out of all the people competing in semis. And I mean everyone, people in the Europe region, Asia region, North America region, etc. This will be Rader's first CrossFit Games as an individual. She went to the games in 2022 as part of a team, so this will be a whole new experience for her. The CrossFit Games is taking place on August 8th to the 11th in Fort Worth, Texas. I'm really excited, and I'm really hoping that I maybe can get to go. It's going to be a very, very, very interesting competition, and there are so many great athletes this year, so make sure to stay tuned for some predictions on how the games will go. So we're now going to switch topics and talk about the results from the Diamond League events in track and field. Before we get into that, we are going to be taking a very short break, so I will see you guys very soon.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows with 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
Welcome back, everybody, to the GSMC Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. We just got done talking about the CrossFit Semifinals in the South America and Africa regions, and now we're going to be talking about the results from the Diamond League competition in Oslo. Before we get started, I wanted to remind you guys to like and follow the show, and to become a part of our show, to tip and donate using the link gsmcpodcast.net. Also, we do get a lot of comments and questions from viewers that come in during the show, so to ensure that your comments and questions are read on the air and answered, make sure to use the link. Once again, the link is gsmcpodcast.net. And also make sure to stay till the end to hear about the results from the CrossFit we just went over that. I was like, oh my gosh, I was like in my head. So make sure you stay till the end to hear about a 13-year-old soccer prodigy who is making her way to becoming pro at 13 years old. Now, let's get started talking about track and field. Okay, so the 6th Diamond League Meet of 2024 was held in Oslo, Norway on May 30th. Stars like Marielle Di Paulino, Brittany Brown, Sharika Jackson, and Nakani Simbine, and Allison Dos Santos competed. So this was a huge meet. We are going to talk about the results from the 100 meter, 400 meter, 800 meter, 1500 meter, 3000 meter, 200 meter, and 400 meter hurdles. And then for field, we're going to be talking about the discus throw. So let's start with the 100 meter event. And there were 2 heats for this event, so it was a bit different. In National Heat A, the top 5 finishers were from Norway. And first was Christine Bellyland Jensen with a time of 11.78 seconds. And second was Envild Mengsenth with a time of 11.81 seconds. And third was Marin Bak Amundsen at 11.98 seconds. And fourth was Mart Peterson at 12.07 seconds. And fifth was Nora Aund at 12.07 seconds. So if you see, here I just said that fourth and fifth had 12.07 seconds. They were literally that close that they had to go down to even smaller numbers here. So really, Pedersen got 12.07.064 and Ond got 12.07.07. So they literally were that close. They were on top of each other. And with sprinting, especially very, very, very short distance like the 100 meter, it is so difficult to see who wins sometimes. And I guess this heat kind of showed you how close it can get. It's pretty insane. So in National Heat B, the top 4 finishers were from Norway, and the 5th finisher was from Finland. And first was Malin Faruho at 12.11 seconds, and second was Eben Karn at 12.27 seconds, and third was Hannah Rebecca Maru Ubi at 12.32 seconds, and fourth was Amalie Grande Ben Ordsted at 12.47 seconds, and in fifth was Emma Suhonen at 12.58 seconds. Heat A's time were a lot faster than Heat B's time, as you can see. So, I mean, that's kind of how they split it up a bit. Now, let's talk about the 400 meter event. The results from this event were pretty interesting. The top 5 finishers were from everywhere, which makes it, more interesting. Marilady Paulino from the Dominican Republic placed first at a time of 49.30 seconds, and this was her season best, so this is really good for her. She also won the Diamond League title for the 400 meter event in 2022, so this was honestly very expected her to come out on top again. And her time is actually way ahead of the second place finisher. Natalia Kaczmarek from Poland came in second with a time of 49.80 seconds. I know this doesn't seem like a big gap, but trust me, it is. When it comes to sprints, 0.5 is actually a lot bigger than it sounds. This was also Kaczmarek's season's best. And third was Alexis Holmes from the U.S. with a time of 50.4 seconds. And fourth was Lee Klaver from the Netherlands with a time of 50.62 seconds. And then a fifth was Sada Williams from Barbados with a time of 50.71 seconds. And this was her season best. There was a lot of personal best and season's best in this meet particularly. You don't see as many season best in the previous Diamond League Diamond League meets. So this was a really good event for a lot of people individually. Moving on to the 800 meter event, the top 5 finishers were all from different countries once again. Prudence Segediso from South Africa finished in fourth at a time of 1 minute and 58.66 seconds. Segediso already boasts 7 national titles, with the Rising Star winning her first in the women's 800 meter at the 2019 championships when she was just 17 years old. She's very known for the 800 meter event, and she will definitely be good at the Paris Olympics, so I was very happy to see that she took first in this because I feel like that was a good way for her to secure that status right now. And second was Natoya Goldtoppen from Jamaica, clocking a time of 1 minute and 59.10 seconds, and this was her season best. And then in third was Catriona Bissett from Australia, clocking a time of 1 minute and 59.29 seconds. So she was super close to second place. While Segediso was pretty ahead of the second and third place finishers, Bissett and Goldtoppen were very close to each other. And fourth was Elena Bello from Italy with a time of 2 minutes and 5 seconds. And then in fifth was Anita Horvat from Slovenia, clocking a time of 2 minutes and 32 seconds, and that was her season's best. Now let's talk about the 15 meter event. Norway took the top 5 finishes. Yeah, so Norway pretty much dominated this event. Dominated this meet like altogether. If you look at a lot of the women's events, Norway really took home a lot of first, second, and third place finishes, as you can see. So Amalie Sadden was the first with a time of 4 minutes and 9.54 seconds, and this was her best this season. Ingeborg Osgaard finished in second with a time of 4 minutes and 11.16 seconds. For Malin Holzman, this was a pretty big race for her. She finished in third, clocking a time of 4 minutes and 12.17 seconds, and this was her personal best. To see improvement like this is really great right before the Olympic trials. And fourth was Anne Jine Lovinsnens, clocking a time of 4 minutes and 12.88 seconds. And then Selma Engdahl had her personal best in this event as well, clocking a time of 4 minutes and 14.48 seconds. And she finished in fifth. As you can see, there's a pretty large gap in between the first place and second place, so it's really impressive to see how far ahead Sadden was, and that isn't even her personal best. So it's really good to see that she is already confirmed that status as a 1500 meter runner. Now onto the 3000 meter event. In this event, there were so many personal bests. And first was Georgia Griffith from Australia with a time at 8 minutes and 24.20 seconds, and this was her personal best. Lakina Ameba from Ethiopia also got a personal best, clocking a time at 8 minutes and 24.29 seconds and finishing in second. And then there was Jessica Hull, also from Australia, with a time at 8 minutes and 25.82 seconds. The other people that had personal bests in this race were Maureen Koster from the Netherlands, Caroline Berkeley Grovedal from Norway, Marta Garcia from Spain, Nathalie Blomqvist from Finland, Nozomi Tanaka from Japan, Idina Jabik from Kenya, and Rose Davies from Australia. So literally so many people had their personal best in this race, which is really impressive. But also it is you sometimes always have to consider how many times people have ran this race before. If this is a race that someone has only run once, then it's not that shocking that they got the personal best, if that makes sense. I mean, it's still great. I'm not saying it's not great, but if you only ran this event once in your lifetime and then you run it again and you get a better time, it's yeah, that's your personal best. You only ran it one other time. So you have to consider how many times people have run this event. I will say the 3,000 meter event is not as popular sometimes. I feel more of the 400, 100, 800 even are just more popular events, especially to watch. So I don't know. I don't know. I think it's pretty interesting that so many people got their personal best though, and it is really a really impressive accomplishment. Now let's talk about the 200 meter event. We were going off on the more long distance events here for a little bit, so now we're going back to the sprints. I'm excited to talk about this one in particular because Brittany Brown finished in first. What even is that? First. She's a huge track and field athlete in the U.S., and in the Diamond League Meet, she hasn't had many first place finishes yet this year. So this is really exciting for her to now be getting a first place finish at this one. Her time was 22.32 seconds, which is her, 22 seconds, which is her, I'm so sorry. 22.22 seconds. I'm so sorry, guys. Which was her season's best. And then in second was Marie-Josée Talu-Smith from Côte d'Ivoire with a time of 22.36 seconds. And this was also her season best. And then in third was Darianita from Great Britain with a time of 22.50 seconds. And this was also her season best. And fourth was Anivia Battle from the U.S. with a time of 22.84 seconds. She has not gotten much attention, so this is good that she's able to place fourth, right, before the Olympic trials and all that. And then a fifth was the iconic Sharika Jackson. This was not her best race considering she didn't place in the top three. I was actually pretty shocked to not see her in the top three. She finished with a time of 22.97 seconds. She still did great, don't get me wrong, but just based on her reputation in previous meets, I would have thought she would have been in the top three. Regardless, she still is in pretty good position for the Olympics, and she still did great in this race. She didn't compete in many events typically, so who knows? Maybe she's preserving her body and trying to prevent any injuries or anything. She already has that reputation and status and good position for the Olympics coming up, so we'll see how if she continues maybe training for the Olympics and all of that. So yeah, now let's talk about the 400 meter hurdles. The top three finishers were all from Jamaica, and in the past Diamond League meets, we have seen the Jamaica runners coming out in the top 400 meter hurdles events, and also in the 4x4 relays. Rachel Clayton placed first with a time of 54.02 seconds. Andrea Knight was in second at 54.63 seconds, and Genevieve Russell was in third with 55.07 seconds. In fourth place was Amelie Luhl from Norway at 55.50 seconds, and then in fifth was Jessie Knight from Great Britain at 55.52 seconds. Lastly, I wanted to talk about the discus. This is like one of my favorite field events to watch. So I do happen to always talk about the discus event whenever we do like track and field segments. Anyway, Finn Bin from China placed first at 67.89 meters, and then Sandra Perkovic from Croatia was in second at 66.48 meters. And then there was Daisy Asakaye from Italy at 63.29 meters. Whoa. Jorinde Van Klinken from the Netherlands was in fourth at 63.60 meters. And then in fifth was Liliana Ka from Portugal at 62.69 meters. At sixth was Claudine Vita from Germany at 61.69 meters. Melina Robert Mitchon from France was in seventh at 61.57 meters. And lastly, Shanice Kraft, also from Germany, placed eighth, reaching 60.24 meters. These were all pretty close considering from third place, fourth place, it's not that big of a gap in between there. But I would say the first place and second place, it is a pretty big gap, 67.89 meters to 66.48 meters. I think that's a pretty big gap. So, I mean, this was still close competition, but I definitely think there were solid, standout competition in the discus throw for this meet. So we're now going to talk about the Softball World Series predictions and last night's game recap, also the game today. Before we get into that, we're going to be taking a quick little break, so I will see you guys very soon.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
Welcome back, everybody, to the GSMC Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. We just got done talking about the Oslo Diamond League Meet, and now we're going to switch over to talking about softball. So the Softball World Series is coming to an end soon, and it has been really, really exciting to watch and stay updated with. In yesterday's video, I recapped Game 5 to Game 12 and gave my predictions on Game 13. So if you're interested in hearing about all of that, I recommend you go check out that video. For this segment, we're going to talk about the Game 13, the recap of it, which was Stanford v. UT Austin from last night. And then we'll also talk about Oklahoma v. Florida, which took place today. And then I'll give my predictions about the first final game being held tomorrow. And I mean pretty much the finals overall, because it is the same team competing against each other in all three finals games. So let's start with the recap of UT Austin v. Stanford. This was a very good game to watch. This game was a roller coaster. I predicted that UT Austin was going to win, and thankfully I was correct here. The Longhorns won the game with the final score of 1-0, so it was a super duper close game. This was the third time the Longhorns and Stanford went head to head in this year's season, so there was a lot of build-up competition and rivalry in the air. The game held at Devon Park in Oklahoma City was marked by a stellar pitching performance from Texas freshman Tegan Cavan, who outdueled Stanford's All-American pitcher Najeri Kennedy for the second time of the tournament. Cavan's dominance was evident as she pitched a complete game, allowing only one hit throughout her time in the circle. This performance replicated her earlier showing in the World Series, cementing her role as a critical player for Texas. The game's pivotal moment occurred in the top of the seventh inning when Alyssa Cross managed to score after a tense run-down attempt. This run proved to be the game winner, with Cavan's pitching ensuring it was all Texas needed. On the other side here, Najeri Kennedy showed resilience under pressure. Like always, after allowing the run, Stanford faced an uphill battle with runners on second and third. However, Kennedy skillfully prevented any further damage by keeping subsequent plays confined within the infield, showcasing her defensive skills despite the high stakes here. I just think that Kennedy is one of the best pitchers in the league. I mentioned that many times in many videos. I absolutely love watching her. But I also think that Tegan Cavan is also super amazing. I'll talk more about her as well when we go into predictions for the finals. So it was just such a good game to see both of them go head to head, because I do feel like they're the two top pitchers in the league. So now let's talk about the game today, Florida v. Oklahoma. This was also a roller coaster, I'll say. The final score was 5-6 with Oklahoma winning. This was a close game. The game, which unfolded also in Oklahoma City, saw Jada Coleman emerge as the heroine with a walk-off home run that sealed a spot for her team in the World Series Finals. The match began with Florida asserting dominance early on. Jocelyn Erickson and Ariel Kowaleski both delivered powerful home runs in the initial innings, and set a formidable pace and putting the Gators ahead here. And then Erickson's blast came against her former team, adding a layer of drama to her towering 2-run shot that cleared the left field bleachers, signaling Florida's aggressive intent. However, the Oklahoma Sooners, a team known for their resilience and batting depth, did not let the early deficit demoralize them. Oklahoma began to chip away at Florida's lead. Ella Parker's 2-run homer in the second inning was a critical moment, echoing across at the stadium as a declaration of the Sooners' fighting spirit here. As the innings progressed, the tension at the ballpark escalated. Each team's bullpen was tested as the lead changed hands multiple times. Oklahoma's Sydney Sanders, also known for her power hitting, made significant contributions, including a solo home run that brought the Sooners within striking distance. Meanwhile, Florida's Keegan Rothrock, despite crossing the 150 pitch mark, fought valiantly in the circle, trying to stave off the persistent Oklahoma batters. The game pushed into extra innings, tied at 5-5. Jada Coleman, who had earlier expressed frustration by slamming her bat after a disappointing at-bat, found redemption in the most spectacular fashion, so she wasn't able to let that mental block get into her. Facing the delivery from Rothrock, Coleman launched a decisive solo home run to the opposite field. The ball soared over the right field wall, just eluding the leap of Florida's outfielder Corb Otis. This was an incredible game overall, I'll say. So now that Oklahoma won, they will be heading into the finals with UT Austin. I was really thinking that Oklahoma may not be in the finals, considering how they've been playing the day before. But this game today showed that they are up for the challenge of getting to the finals and that they are going to be good competition for the Longhorns. There will be 2 final games for sure. The first final game is tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and then the second final game is June 6th, the following day at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And then there's also a third final game if needed that will be June 7th. However, based on how everything goes, those times and dates may change, I'll say. I also wanted to say that I wish that Stanford was going in the finals, because I think it'd be such an epic moment for Najeri Kennedy. But also at the same time, we see UT Austin and Texas go head-to-head so many times that I'm like, it's nice to see Oklahoma and now UT Austin go head-to-head again. So, it'll be a good game either way for sure. This doesn't shock me that Oklahoma is going to be in the finals, though, because, they're the number 2 seed. You would expect that just based on stats. UT Austin, I was very confident they were going to be in the finals. So, this isn't shocking to me at all, but I'm just going to tell you guys my predictions for the final game, because I think this is going to be a really good game to watch, especially the first final. And then, the other finals will too, of course, other final games, but it will be interesting to see how it goes. So going into the World Series, we all thought that Oklahoma would just take win after win until the finals, but I felt like they did struggle in some of the games more than I would have thought they would. I thought they were going to be the hottest team going out because they have that confidence and motivation of already winning 3 World Series, and they have that, motivation to win a 4th. But just by looking at the game so far, it seems that maybe Texas has more motivation and confidence to win the World Series and take that 4th victory away from Oklahoma, just based on energy I'm seeing. Also, I think that Texas has a stronger lineup. They both have equally great lineups, but I do think that Texas has been stronger, particularly this year with their lineup. Pitcher Tegan Cavan is so amazing, and she has proven herself to be one of the strongest pitchers in the league at this World Series games. In the last game against Stanford, she allowed no walks and had a total of 7 strikeouts. She showed that she was just as good as Kennedy in the game, and sort of even better if you consider that I mean, she was just as good as her. Texas also has Reese Atwood and Bella Dayton, who have strong hits. Also, they have Mac Morgan, and she's a great player, especially when combined with Kevon. Morgan has the lowest strikeout rate, but she has the highest velocity and amazing control, and that's going to be valuable if she happens to pitch in the finals game. Because Texas has these 3 strong pitchers, also sit Lily Gutierrez. They will be pretty strong off the start in defense, I think. They have the ability to back up each other. For example, when both Gutierrez and Kevon struggled against A&M in the Super Regionals, Morgan put out fires in the first 2 games and won the third. So they were able to back each other up, and having those 3 strong pitchers is going to be very beneficial for the team. Texas also has amazing offense with the best batting average in the country, and while Oklahoma has more power, UT makes up for that with speed. Texas beats all the teams in the World Series in depth, and all the players have come at bat at least 100 times before the World Series began, so they have that experience. 5 of the 9 regulars have hit at least 8 home runs, 8 have driven in at least 30 runs, and all 9 have scored at least 34 runs. There is really no weak link here. What will be Texas' biggest threat from Oklahoma is Tiare, I'm so bad at pronouncing names. Tiare Jennings. Sorry, guys. We all know who Tiare Jennings is, so it's okay. She had 17 home runs with a team best of 66 RBIs when starting the World Series games, and she's proven herself to still be an amazing hitter at bat during the World Series. I'll say that Oklahoma's pitching does seem to have slipped a bit this year. The trio, Jory Bell, Alex Storoko, and Nicole May, was almost unhittable last season, but with Bell gone to Nebraska, Storoko out of eligibility, and May less effective, just in general, their coach had to rely quite a bit on Oklahoma State transfer Kelly Maxwell and sophomore Kirsten Deal. The results are still very good, don't get me wrong, and they have the best infield fielding percentage of any World Series teams. But overall, they're slightly more vulnerable because of this. Oklahoma allowed 6 or more runs in 6 games this season, losing 4 of them. So they are more vulnerable. So based on all of that, I think UT Austin is going to come out on top, at least in the first game. I see them as a stronger team going into the World Series, but regardless, I think it is going to be a super close game and pretty darn competitive. So we're now going to move on to the next segment where we talk about the Xfinity U.S. Gymnastics Championships. Before we get into that, we're going to be taking a very short break, so I will see you guys very soon.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
Welcome back to the GSMC Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. We just got done talking about the Women's Softball World Series game from last night and some predictions, also today's game recap, and now we're going to talk about the Xfinity U.S. Gymnastics Championships. In yesterday's show, I talked about the 5 top finishers in the competition. So if you're interested in hearing about how those athletes did, I recommend you go ahead and check that video out. As a little recap, Simone Biles placed first. No shocker there. She really dominated the competition. And then Sky Blakely was second, Kayla DiCello was third, Sunisa Lee was fourth, and Jordan Childs was fifth. So on Sunday, I went to the competition, and I was able to see everyone compete, and I really recommend that y'all go to a gymnastics meet and a high-level one like this one because it was so amazing to watch. I also posted some YouTube shorts of clips from the event that I took when I was there, so if you're interested in seeing those, you should definitely go check out our YouTube channel, GSMC Sports Network. Okay, so in this segment, I'm going to be talking about the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th place gymnasts, and then I will talk about some other people that were very notable but did not place in the top 10. So let me just explain some background information before we begin. People from the selection committee attend this competition to figure out who they want to invite to the Olympic trials. They have to invite a minimum of 12 people, so this competition is a huge deal. And then also the top 2 gymnasts are already qualified for the trials, and that would be Sky Blakely and Simone Biles. Also for this competition, the women's seniors compete 2 times, so they're all-around scores added together to figure out where everyone places basically. Now, let's get into 6th to 10th place. Starting with 6th place, we have Hesley Rivera. She has not gotten much attention, and I think she impressed a lot of people. She definitely impressed me, I'll say. I thought that Jade Carey or even Leanne Wong would have placed higher than her, but no, Rivera really was stunning in all of her events. She did great both days, and her scores kind of fluctuated in all events both days, so it is difficult to say which event was her strongest in the competition. Her floor was the weakest, but that was because of minor issues like stepping out of bounds. She is longer and very artistic-y. She has like nice long legs, so watching her on the beam doing front aerials is so satisfying and beautiful. She had an overall score of 110.35, which is super close to 5th place, which was Jordan Childs with a score of 110.4. And 7th was Jade Carey. This is literally where I start to cry. I wanted her to place in the top 5 so bad. She is so adorable and amazing. Like, I just want to be her best friend. She did really well, but there were some issues she had in her events on day 2, which I will get into. She had an all-around score of 109.3, so in her beam, she did good on the first day, and then the second day she fell on the beam while landing her straddle jump or middle split leap, whatever you want to call it. She got back up and finished strong, but that fall caused a big deduction where she had a final score on day 2 of 12.3 on the beam, so she had a pretty big deduction there. Her floor routine was great. I loved it, and she executed it flawlessly, and her level of difficulty was right where everyone in the top 5 was, other than Simone Biles, but like, that's like, you can't really like, Simone Biles' level of difficulty is so insanely high that it's like impossible, so that makes sense. Jade Carey's uneven bar routine hurt her significantly though, and that was because of the level of difficulty. Her level of difficulty was just way lower than the top 5 competitors on the bars, which dropped her score on that event. Other than that, she executed her uneven bar routine flawlessly. I think she could have handled a more difficult routine, but it was good to play it safe considering she showed a great finishing in 7th place overall. She's in good status going into the Olympic trials if she is invited, but I really do think she's going to be invited. I am planning on making a video about who I think is going to be invited to the Olympic trials. I'm very confident that Jade Carey will be there, and if she's not, I will be crying for days about it because she better be there. Also, I was about to say something, but I just forgot. Oh my gosh, this is going to make me so mad. I hate when I forget things that I'm going to say. Also, I do have opinions about how gymnastics events are scored because of the level of difficulty and the deductions and all of that, and I do want to address that in a video someday because I have like very strong opinions about it. So stay tuned for hearing about that someday. So now moving on to 8th was Leanne Wong. She really stood out in the vault. Her overall score was 108.65. She had some issues on the beam. She had an off day on the beam on the second day. She fell, which really hurt her score, but she still carried with her vault and floor score. Her uneven bars were really good as well, but her floor routine really stood out to me particularly. She hasn't gotten much attention, and seeing her on the floor was great because you really got to see her personality and her best skills standing out. I will say that it was very obvious that her vault is her strongest event because she looked the most confident at that event, and she had really skilled and really good form in her sprinting that allowed her to get a lot of power on the floor. It was very different how seeing her run compared to other people because she had like some sort of different running technique or something. I don't even know how to explain it, but it made her stand out to me. And I mean, she's so speedy and just got so much power on the floor. So she did amazing on the vault, obviously. And 9th was, and I'm gonna butcher this last name, Butcher, oh my gosh, how do you even say that word? Wow, I'm so bad at pronouncing anything. Tayana Sumanasekara. I'm so sorry, guys. Sumanasekara. Okay, yeah, that's right. Sumana Sarekara or something like that. Okay, I was really rooting for her. She is beautiful and a great performer. She has beautiful feet and legs, so she would be a really good dancer if she ever wanted to switch to that. Her all-around score was 108.55. Her vault score was super high, which really helped her. Her uneven bars was her quote-unquote weakest event, and that was mainly because she had a lower level of difficulty than other competitors that placed higher than her. Her floor routine was really awesome because it was very performative. Mckenna Whitham is from World Champion City, which is where Jordan Childs and Simone Biles are from, so I think their gym really works on the performative aspects on the floor routine or something because they all have those characteristics in their floor routines. I really enjoy watching them because their routines are a lot different than others because of those performative aspects. Like Childs has some sassy kind of like movement she does. Like she points to the audience and stuff in her floor routine. Like it's so fun. Simone Biles has a very cool ending pose. I love their floor routines from that gym. In 10th was Jocelyn Robertson, who is also from the World Champion Center. Oh my gosh, she is so powerful. She got an overall score of 108.2. So super close to Samantha Genzer. Robertson is super short, so she is super muscular and a powerhouse. She reminds me so much of Shawn Johnson. She has an adorable smile when she finishes her routine, and she also is super muscular just like Johnson. I really enjoyed Robertson's floor routine. She had a lot of nice fluid moments and movements too. I think movements was the better word for that. She had a lot of nice fluid movements, like how she transitioned from standing into her wolf turn. She did a nice little somersault thing into a wolf turn. She had a little intricate details in her routines that made it really interesting to watch and showed off a lot of creativity, artistic skills that she has. For the balance beam, her day 2 score was worse than her day 1 score, and that was because of fumbling issues. She had a pretty solid beam routine on the second day, but she still had a little bit of balancing and fumbling issues. Regardless, her dismount was solid and she seemed pretty confident throughout. I'm really hoping we get to see her at the trials because I think she could bring something different to the team and competition. Okay, so I also wanted to mention 2 other gymnasts that stood out to me while watching the competition that did not place in the top 10. First, I wanted to mention Dulcie Kaler. She is 16 years old and she looks a lot younger than some of the other competitors, especially those in the same gym. She also trains at World Champion Center, so where Biles and Childs place. She ended up in 14th place with an all-around score of 106.15. I think she would be a solid contender at the trials despite being only 16 years old and not placing in the top 10. She just has a fearless attitude and is really graceful on the floor and bars. But her issues lie in her level of difficulty. She has a lower level of difficulty than a lot of the other competitors that placed higher than her and a lot of the competitors that are from her gym. And I think that might be because she is 16 years old, whereas a lot of the other competitors are 18 and older, especially those that place in the top 10. But despite all of this, she has so much potential, and I think she is one day going to be on the Olympic team. I don't think this is going to be the year for her to be on the Olympic team. I think it would be great to see her at the trials, but I think maybe the 2028 Olympics, if she continues training this hard and improves the level of difficulty and whatnot, she will be a solid contender for the Olympic team then. I also wanted to mention Evelyn Lowe really quickly. She finished in 13th place overall and had an overall score of 106.35. When I watched the competition, I just felt like she always did well in her events on the second day. Granted, she didn't have the highest scores, but she really impressed me. I just wanted to bring attention to her. She had a great floor and beam routine. She did not do so great on the bars, but this was mainly due to her lower level of difficulty. I think that if she increased that, she would be super strong in the trials if she is invited. And I definitely see her being one of the gymnasts invited to compete at the trials. I have a feeling that we're going to be seeing a lot more of her this year, especially. So we're now going to move on to our next segment where we talk about the CrossFit Semifinals in the South America and Africa regions. Before we get into that, we're going to be taking a very short break. So I will see you guys very soon. Welcome back, everybody, to the GSMC Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. We just got done talking about the Xfinity U.S. Gymnastics Championships. We talked about the 6th to 10th place finishers and also some 2 other people to put the spotlight on. And we are now going to be putting another spotlight on someone else in the soccer world. We're going to be talking about this 13-year-old soccer prodigy. Her name is Mckenna Whitham. So we're just going to get, right into this. This is like a very interesting segment we're doing here because it is spotlighting someone who, this is different. She's not in the professional league yet, but she is definitely going to be very soon. Okay, so Mckenna Whitham, Right now, she is preparing to turn pro, as many other kids her age are preparing for high school. She's the youngest person right now to sign a name, image, and likeness contract with Nike, and the youngest to play for the NWSL club. Back in February during her preseason, she actually scored a goal with Gotham FC, which made her the youngest player to score for the NWSL. She says that she has always wanted to go pro, and high school hasn't really been much of a thought since soccer is like her main priority. Right now, Mckenna Whitham practices with the Santa Clara Blue Heat at College of the Canyons. This team is a highly regarded summer pro-am club whose alumni include World Cup veterans Savannah DeMello, Alyssa Thompson, Laura Sesselman, and Ashley Sanchez, and reigning NWSL Rookie of the Year Jenna Neiswanger. Kennedy Fuller is 17 years old and plays for the Angel City FC and was the second youngest person to sign for this club. As someone who went pro at a really young age, she sort of understands how Whitham might feel. Her advice to Whitham is to be patient, which is, not always easy in this situation. Specifically, Fuller said, it's super important that she thinks about putting herself in the best environment possible, whether that's playing up a couple of years, whether that's playing with boys, whether that's playing with professional training, professional teams, whatever that may be. Putting herself in the best environment possible is what's going to eventually help her be the best version of herself. Whitham is doing just that. She's playing with the U.S. U15 team, so she's playing up a couple of years. And then also she's been training with the LAFC's Boys Academy team. Tomorrow, she's expected to make her debut with the Santa Clarita Blue Heat. It's pretty new that Whitham is dreaming of becoming a professional soccer player at 13 years old. Until 2021, the NWSL required women to be at least 18 years old to play in the league. This was an issue for the famous, iconic player Olivia Moultrie, who is now 18, but she signed with the Wasserman Media Group, U.S. soccer's most powerful soccer agency, and then accepted a multi-year endorsement deal with Nike and an offer to train with the NWSL Portland Thorns when she was much younger. But after moving to Oregon with her family, the league told her that she had to wait to play a couple of years until playing in an official match. And then Moultrie sued, and the courts eventually agreed that the NWSL was in violation of antitrust rules. So before the 2022 NWSL season started, Commissioner Jessica Berman pushed through a mechanism for signing players under 18 years old, opening the doors not just for Moultrie, but for other rising stars such as Chloe Ricketts, Melanie Borsinas, and Jaden Shaw. A lot of the rookies we see this year are actually under the age of 18, and they are killing it out on the field. And if this issue wasn't changed, we wouldn't see them, which would be a huge different league and year season. Jill Illes, who coached the U.S. women's team to 2 World Cup titles before becoming president of the San Diego Wave, said, it's incredibly important that we have a domestic pathway for those special players that want to take the next step. It was a rarity a few years ago to have teenagers in the pro ranks. To see the evolution and opportunities now for our best young talent is amazing. So, now back to the Whithams. They moved from the San Francisco Bay Area to Southern California last summer because of her soccer opportunities, such as her chance to play for the Blue Heat and the Slammers FC, which is an elite youth program in Orange County. Whitham's father said, my job is to make sure that as long as she's having fun and if she wants to do it, that she has the opportunity to do it, then it's up to her to prove herself. All I care about is that she's following her dreams and that she wants to do it. My goal is just to be here to support her. Her father says that he doesn't push her daughter to train and that the motivation is purely from her. Whitham also is really mature for her age, clearly, and she is very responsible, so she has been homeschooled, so I think she will be able to adjust to a more professional soccer career. And then a little fun fact here, her father, Josh Whitham, was a young Olympic athlete. At 15 years old, he was the youngest member of the U.S. Olympic ski team, ranking as high as 40th in the world and making the roster for the 1998 Olympics as an alternate before he was out of high school. So her father has that experience of being a young athlete, and I think it's great that he can advise her in this situation. Her father also said, "We have these conversations, but my job is shifting to more of an advisor and just to make sure I'm here to talk about everything. The experiences she's living right now, you can never replace those no matter what you do. In regular life, you cannot replace going to Europe, being with the teams, having the interaction with those players. We do worry about those things. All I care is that she's following her dreams and we'll be here to support her. And if that dream changes, then it changes." Right now, that dream is to sign a professional contract. Bersinas became the young player in WSL history when she signed with the Wave last season at 15 years old and 138 days. Whitham, who has now continued to train with Gotham, the reigning NWSL champion, as well as NWSL clubs in Kansas City and Washington, won't turn 15 for another 14 months. Mckenna Whitham's journey into the pro soccer world at just 13 is nothing short of amazing, and it's really shaking up the way we think about young talent in sports. She's not only making waves by signing big deals with Nike and scoring goals in preseason games for Gotham, but she's also turning the old rule book and on its head about how young is too young for pro sports, all that. Honestly, the whole thing is kind of a game changer. It's like, remember when gymnasts and tennis stars were hitting the big leagues super young? Now soccer's catching up and it's pretty cool to see, but there's always that nagging worry about whether it's all too much too soon. Are we going to see a burnout, or is she missing out on normal kid stuff? Yet seeing McKenna's dad being super supportive but not pushy gives me hope that they are handling it the right way. He's been there for her. As a young Olympian himself, he knows the ropes and seems to be the perfect guide through this wild ride for her. Her training does sound very intense and super smart at the same time. Playing with older teams, even training with boys and mixing it up with pro teams, that's how you level up. Kennedy Fuller's advice to stay patient and find the right environment hit homes too for her. It's like she's saying, take your time, find your groove, and the rest will follow. It's old advice because it's not just about pushing limits physically, but also about making sure Mckenna Whitham can grow into her potential at her own pace. And we have to mention that this could have been so different just a couple of years back, with Olivia Moultrie having to sue to play because of age rules. It's wild that I'm about to say WNBA. That's crazy. The NWSL had to be pushed to let younger players in, and now thanks to some rule changes, we're seeing these incredible young players stepping into the spotlights way sooner. Jill Illis, she summed it up perfectly when she talked about the importance of creating a pathway for these special young talents. It's not just about letting them play, it's about nurturing them, giving them opportunities to shine without burning out. And the fact that McKenna's family moved just to give her better soccer opportunities shows how committed they are. It's not every day you see that level of dedication, so I'm really hoping that McKenna's debut with the Santa Clarita Blue Heat is just the start of a long and successful career. With her talent and support I'd say she's got a real shot at changing the game for good. I'm excited to see how this goes. I think she's going to make a huge impact in the world of soccer, especially considering that she is 13 years old right now. She will be turning, I said it was 14 months, if I'm remembering correctly, 14 months till she will be turning 15, so I think that would be a better time for her to start going pro. 13 does seem a little bit young. I played soccer for more than 15 years, and I don't think that I could have imagined not even being in high school yet and going pro. I don't think I could handle that, especially because you are literally going to be going against people who are twice your age. That's insane. I don't think I could do that, but clearly Mckenna Whitham's a lot stronger than I am, and clearly she is already performing like a pro in soccer. I think this will be very good for her. I think this will be interesting. And I'm excited to keep updated with how she goes, how her journey is, and everything. So that concludes the show for today. Thank you guys so much for staying tuned into the GSMC Hoops and Heels Women's Sports podcast, presented to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us, so please remember to subscribe to the show and leave a positive review. It really does make a difference. We also invite you to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram for more content and updates. Thank you guys once again, and have a wonderful day.
Let's go. I wake up to a little